bribery, money laundering, and official misconduct.
We've had enough. Families are struggling, businesses can't thrive. When City Hall is filled with corruption, nothing gets done for the people.
Miami City Commissioner Alex Diaz de la Portilla was arrested and charged with money laundering and criminal conspiracy.
Joe Carollo was ordered to pay more than $63 million for abusing his power at City Hall.
Miami Mayor Francis Suarez is currently under FBI investigation.
It's a giant clown car full of frauds and cowards shitting on democracy. Fabulously fond of bribery and laundering dirty paper play money. Diaz de la Portilla, Ponzi, Postalita, clandestinely plotting schemes. Reyes, King, and Cova, White, Peter, Carollo, here corruption reigns supreme. In Miami, the jokes don't only write themselves. In Miami, they get elected here as well. In Miami, we're slowly sinking in the sea. In Miami, if you were smart, then you would flee. Dysfunction, construction, mafia's got less corruption. They're the worst, we're all cursed. Hang around for a second verse. Where else is the status quo to be a scumbag preying on society? The feds are under Suarez, it's cleaner in Juarez, it's hard to take us seriously. In Miami, Art Acevedo took a stand. In Miami, then the commission had him canned. In Miami, no, nothing happens above board. In Miami, but somehow it's all ignored. In Miami, the jokes don't only write themselves. In Miami, they get elected here as well. In Miami, we're slowly sinking in the sea. In Miami, in Miami, in Miami. They want you to pay no heed to the crimes they do. They want you to pay no heed to the crimes they do.
Please do not record me.
Democracy has been spared here in Miami after a failed attempt to cancel this year's election, although Damian Pardo would have you believe we're not canceling the election, we're just not having it this year. I had to go to dictionary.com to figure that out. Also, no, we are postponing it. And I'm like, wait a second. Okay, so step one in a postponement is canceling, and step two is rescheduling. And, you know, as the famous economist once said, in the long run, we're all dead. So some people wouldn't live to see November 2026, and some of those people might have been the candidates, in fact. However, the election is happening. I don't know that anybody knows that it is, but it's happening. And after 8 years of Mayor Suarez is going to be, I guess, moving to Dubai. I'm not really sure. Somewhere in the Emirates. And we have joining us now the third, I would say, top contender. I'm guessing your in-house polling shows you as the front runner for the next mayor of the great city of Miami. County Commissioner Eileen Higgins. Commissioner, what your launch video there kind of shows you highlighting initially corruption. We hear a lot of candidates talk generally about corruption and cleaning up City Hall. What is it that you think is the issue with corruption in the city of Miami, and what are the other issues that you think are central to this city and this campaign?
When you are dealing with a city hall that is completely involved in scandals and disruption and distractions and corruption, nothing gets done for the people, right? So I live in the city. I love this city, right? It has a lot of potential energy. But way back when, remember Tomás Regalado? He was mayor, and we passed the Miami Forever bond. And there were supposed to be all kinds of drainage projects and park improvement projects and public works projects and police station improvements. And most of those haven't even gotten started. So when you're dealing with whether it's a commission and then also administration that is so distracted with all of these lawsuits and all this other shenanigans, they're just not focused on the things that a city needs to become a world-class city. And you know, you know what people, you talk to people all the time. I talk to people all the time. The affordable housing crisis is real. If you try to get a permit for anything, right, you want to paint your front door, you can wait 2 years. But certainly if you want to build a new affordable housing development, between the time you get the approval from the commission, you get your permits, it's 4 years. You haven't even broken ground. They can actually build it in 2 years, less time than the bureaucracy. And so corruption ends up holding us back a lot from being the place we need to be for the residents that live here.
I was looking for more specifics, but I understand what you're saying. But you brought up something, and I'm curious about it, because what's happening at Mel Reese, this sports welfare deal that the city did for its largest parkland, its largest contiguous piece of green space that they gave away to pave for a shopping mall, hotel, soccer stadium, and maybe a little bit of a park too. I've noticed that structure is being slapped up in record time. I've never seen anything in the city of Miami, maybe in the county of Dade, on that scale, getting built faster on what was originally a toxic Superfund site that was supposed to be remediated and mitigated. And is anybody what is the county doing over there? Is it just bought and paid for? Is anything being properly permitted, inspected? Was the remediation done for the toxic waste that was buried under the Mel Reese, Beckham Moss Stadium?
Yes, and the county's Department of Environmental Regulatory Management, DERM, most of us know them. They were the ones that went through and supervised all of the soil remediation, right? Because you often have to do that on big sites, particularly golf courses, right? Because they're so heavily used with pesticides and other things to keep them green. They're overly green thanks to chemicals. So that, to my knowledge, has gone, and they would not have been able to even get a notice to proceed or break construction had that environmental cleanup not happened. But it is very clear that the entire administration of the city of Miami is harnessing all of it can do, because those construction permits are 99 out of 100 of those permits are coming through the city. So it is interesting, right? Because they can manage to permit and get a soccer stadium built quite quickly. And by the way, I'm excited we're having soccer here. But at the same time, if I were to put into permitting, which I did, right? I just tried to permit a affordable housing building, very, very low-income seniors on 17th Avenue in Little Havana, and took 15 months to get the permit out to just break ground on housing for low-income seniors. So the city has to be able to do more than one thing at the time. We should be able to build things more quickly in our community.
But why can't we? Is it because these big money oligarchs of the city, who are your campaign contributors as well, incidentally, Moss and FP&L and Adler's and Related and Terra and all the usual suspects are on your donor list. They're the ones who seem to get things done a lot faster, whereas some poor schmuck looking to build a fence has to wait years on end.
The system is broken. If you look into how they run their permitting software, everything is run in series. Nothing's running in parallel, right? So Department A reviews Department B, and then Department E has comments, and it goes back and starts over. The county permitting process, everything goes in parallel. So you can get different approvals, right? The landscaping people don't care about the plumbing people. Why should they, right, in general? I'll give you an example. I was able to permit a 12-story affordable housing building, also low-income seniors. I secret shopped the city and the county. One was in the county zoning, the other was in the city zoning, right? Both are located in the city of Miami, by the way. Put them in on the same day. This building was 12 stories, which means it's a different fire code, right? It's much more complicated to go above 8 stories. I had that thing permitted in 107 days. We are going to have people living in that building in November. And on the same day we submitted the 8-story building, so the simple building, right? No complicated structural and fire codes, right? That's where the National Fire Code changes. And that took 15 months, right? So you are dealing with the same exact thing, two governments. One can help you get something done, and the other just simply delays. And by the way, time is money.
I referenced earlier the effort on the part of this commission to not only cancel this election, but of course gift themselves an extra year in office unilaterally without bringing it as a referendum to the voters of Miami. And that was a lawsuit brought by your opponent, Emilio Gonzalez, the former city manager of Miami, who successfully litigated that. And objectively, thanks to him and his efforts legally, the election is back on. Where were you on that? You were conspicuously absent from that entire process. There were very few overtly public statements of support of that effort. And then the moment he won, a fundraising email appeared in our inboxes with the subject "Victory for Democracy." I understand that what do they say? Victory has a 1,000 parents and failure is an orphan. But where were you?
So I'll tell you. First of all, I was out knocking on doors, talking to voters, and getting ready for an election because, I guess unlike other people, I went to school and I learned how to read. And so I read the county charter, so I knew we were going to have an election. And I certainly was prepared to get involved in the lawsuit. But I'm also smart enough to know there's zero reason for two people to be in the same lawsuit. When Emilio was busy doing that, good for him, right? But it's also indicative of the kinds of folks that are running, right? They are literally in court all the time. And I thought, well, Emilio's suing, fine. But I do disagree that I was nowhere to be found because I did numerous television interviews, I did numerous radio interviews, all talking about the fact that it is terrible to just take a year. And long before that lawsuit was settled, I was on the record on numerous TV and radio stations saying, if I'm elected in November, I will submit an item for approval by the board and the commission, I'm sure they will do so, to take 1 year off my first term in office. We must move elections to 2028. So the commission is right in that. But they got to give up a year. They can't take a year.
I
mean, that's ridiculous.
We can have the even year debate. I think that's an interesting exercise electorally and intellectually to talk about the merits and perhaps not of moving elections to even years. That's it. I mean, I guess Emilio Gonzalez really owned that kind of elections or that media cycle, if you will, as a result of being the plaintiff. But the perception was that he was out there proactively fighting to save democracy, I imagine, is how his campaign might spin it. And you kind of snuck in there after the fact to exploit his victory. And incidentally, Commissioner, you would benefit. You would have benefited from a 1 year delay. So I wasn't entirely surprised to see you sit it out.
I don't understand.
You'd have an extra year in office at the county. You'd have an extra year to fundraise. You'd have higher Democratic turnout in an even year election than in an odd year election.
Billy, I would not have benefited in any way. The reason I'm running for mayor is the city needs fixing now. It does not need fixing next year. So no, in my opinion, like you may electorally think I would have benefited.
Yes.
But,
and financially, you would have benefited.
Well, I don't know about that, but here's what I can tell you.
Another year of fundraising, another year as a county commissioner fundraising?
To
county vendors and to county lobbyists?
Your opinion of what I'm thinking and feeling during this process, which is not what I was thinking and feeling.
No, I'm saying objectively, I'm saying it
great.
Makes sense.
Emotionally, this is, for me, I am running for the city of Miami because the city of Miami doesn't work. We are having an election at a time of great difficulty for our environment, in our nation, for the people who live here. We are facing disrespect. We are facing the end of TPS, which, by the way, in our county could affect 15% of our population. We are facing a declining, every hotel owner and every restaurant owner, it's the worst summer they've ever had. Tourism is down. So I would never have benefited as a city of Miami resident by waiting for an election for another year. That is another year where things go badly for us rather than have the opportunity to start on a different path. I never felt that way, and I never would. And by the way, you're right. It's easier for me to win next year. I have to work harder to win this year. There's a reason they do these off-year elections, so they minimize voter turnout and they have their little centers that they control folks in. I have to get out there and tell different people, guess what? There is an election on November 4th. Because if I weren't in this race, I would not have any mailers in my mailbox telling me to go out to vote for mayor. Nobody wants a person like me to vote for mayor, right? They want just a very small pool. But for me, it is so crucial that we get a different kind of government and that we get somebody in there that works. I have a track record of working. You know, I'm a mechanical engineer. I worked in the private sector. I started in manufacturing. I have 20 years of work experience in the private sector. I've run large divisions. I have turned businesses around. I've actually fixed things in the real world. I haven't just, like, in my mind thought they could be fixed, and then I go into a meeting and go, well, do you think we can fix this? Well, I know we can fix it. I know how to fix it. So I never wanted the election to be next year. By the way, I wouldn't have declared until next year if it was next year. Who wants to be a candidate for 2 years? That's awful.
You'd already declared because you thought there was going to be. Everybody thought there was going to be an election, but then there wasn't going to be an election. Now there is.
There is.
We are back with Miami-Dade County Commissioner and arguably, according to her polls anyway, frontrunner for the City of Miami mayor, an election that is actually happening in November, although I think vote by mail ballots probably go out at the beginning of October. We're probably like in the middle. We're practically in the middle of voting right now. You opened up lots of cans of worms before the break, including TPS, which is for people following along at home, temporary protected status for a community, for a minority majority community like ours, affects the Cuban community, the Haitian community, the Dominican community, the Colombian and Venezuelan communities. I mean, it has a dramatic impact. That said, a big series of scandals this year had to do with the 287G contracts and commitments that various municipalities, cities, towns, counties make with ICE and federal immigration enforcement to effectively commit to collude with local law enforcement to what immigrant groups would argue is terrorize immigrant communities to not trust and engage their local law enforcement or even report crimes because they're afraid that their legal status or immigrant status is going to be called into question. I remember a meeting at the county earlier this year where Camila Ramos, a Miami-Dade County resident, an activist who was there attempting to understand what was going on, because some of these meetings get a little confusing, and it's not entirely certain what you're voting on or not voting on. If there's not going to be a quorum, and suddenly they're going to cancel the meeting. Tried to engage her government and was dragged out like an animal by Sergeant at Arms. You didn't say anything.
That is not correct. I was out of town. I was in Washington at meetings that day. I was not on the dais that day. It was terrible what happened, and I'm sad about what happened.
Why didn't the Sergeant at Arms doesn't have authority of that chamber. The commissioners do. Anyone could recognize her. Certainly the chairman could have recognized her. Renee, to his credit, Renee Garcia was the only commissioner who came out after the meeting and said to the press that was terrible. It's not very encouraging for someone who regularly attends City of Miami Commission meetings that are run slightly more civilly than what we saw in that episode. But how are people to have confidence that they're going to be able to freely and constitutionally engage with their government?
What happened that day was wrong. She should never have been dragged out. That was inappropriate. And our chairman should have said something. But he didn't. And he should have. And he didn't.
Did you talk to the chairman about it?
We are not allowed to talk because of the sunshine law and things that we may have to vote on.
Did you call a sunshine meeting so that you could have a conversation about how the meetings are run and how we don't have law enforcement use the faces of our residents as to open doors?
That's our sheriff department too, by the way. Let's be very clear. And so.
But in the chamber, any one of the commissioners can recognize her.
It was not right. I'm sorry I wasn't there that day, but as you well know.
Forgive me, I was mistaken about your presence.
Yes, no, I was not there, and I'll tell you why I wasn't there. I was in Washington because at that point in time we were doing a lot of back and forth to try to get the last $489 million for the Northeast Corridor commuter rail, and so I am in charge of that project, and so it was important to make sure that was in the federal budget, and it is. So it probably would have been good to be there, but
speaking of budgets, $402 million deficit in the county this year, yet we're giving sports welfare by the tens of millions of dollars to the billionaires at FIFA, to Stephen Ross, who you all voted to increase the sports welfare that he receives for special events, particularly World Cup. So the World Cup subsidies are in excess of $60 million, while we're talking about charging for increasing the cost of public transit for some of our hardworking class county residents, talking about charging for Metro Mover, talking about cutting serious services for some of the neediest of our residents and members of our community. Why all this sports welfare when we're facing this kind of deficit? And how do you account for that fiscal irresponsibility at the county and when you want to be the mayor of Miami?
Well, I think you probably, well, I don't know, because since we didn't get home till 5 a.m. So I don't know if you heard what I said at our budget hearing, but I told the mayor she should look and cutting the FIFA contributions in order to fully fund our CBOs. So that was the direction I put on the dais for the budget. And listen, I want FIFA to go well. I want the World Cup to go well. We all do. But
they don't need the money.
They're an organization that's really rough to work with. And, as that agreement was made with Mayor Jimenez, there were some commitments to it. But I said to the mayor, cut it. And we should back out, too, because this is something that's really important for the residents to know, because they think we have a budget shortfall. It's not actually true. We have a completely changed government, right? We used to have one unified government in the county, and now we have 6 governments in the county. And
the county had ample notice and ample opportunity to prepare for that.
So that is 6 things always cost more, right? You got 6 procurement departments, 6 HR departments, 6 this is 6 that's, right? And so you have a permanent shift of essentially $500 million out of what we consider the county government into the tax collector, the
sheriff's office,
the this, that. We used to have a police department for $800 million. Now we have one for $1.1 billion. We're just as safe, right? Nothing's changed except she's spending an extra $300 million, right? So,
again, all of this was predictable.
Unfortunately, the voters approved that. I voted against it, obviously, because I know that 6 things cost more than 1 thing. So
I voted against it.
I'm an engineer,
too.
so
I took a lot of math. But this was all long enough ago that the city commission, the county commission, should have taken the necessary precautions, if that included austerity measures in years past when we were flush with federal COVID cash and everything else. And but nobody made those preparations. Not Mayor Danielle Levine Cava and not any of you county commissioners.
Billy, what would you have us do? We were able to fund the arts institutions all along, and we've gotten almost to 100% this year. And part of it is, raising the alarm, saying we need to do things a little differently. We've gotten some input from the private sector. We've gotten some other things. By the way, the mayor was able to bring the sheriff to the table and also the tax collector. So I would much rather have made sure that we recovered from COVID properly and had our CBOs activated, and versus having money sitting in reserves and having slowly but surely cut those services off.
You have, I think, been on the side of advocating that effectively the RTZ should supersede Miami 21. And let me explain to people what that means. The RTZ is the rapid transit zoning, and which to me is a total bullshit workaround by lobbyists and real estate hucksters and the oligarchs of this community to say that, well, we're close enough to a metro rail station that we get all kinds of additional units, and every single one of those units can add millions of dollars potentially to the bottom line. And so when you add additional floors and hundreds of additional units at these buildings where everybody's going to drive, this idea that everybody's going to suddenly use the Metro Mover is a total fraud. And this has transformed the city of Miami. It's made traffic far worse. It's obliterated tree protections. We've put some of the most massive and dense developments along or near Metro Rail where people can't even get, how do you get the last mile or how do you get the last few blocks or whatever? Nobody's actually foregoing cars to take Metro Rail. But now all of a sudden you're going to come to the city and say, what, we should continue to abdicate to the county?
Here's what I can tell you about rapid transit zoning. First of all, in the district I represent, which is downtown and Brickell, there is not more density under the rapid transit zone. There's less density. Miami 21 in downtown and Brickell permits 1,000 units per acre.
I'm talking about
the county's zoning.
US 1 through Coconut Grove, going all the way into Coral Gables.
I will never, ever believe we should have low density near a transit station, right? There's no way to expand roads. Let's be very clear. This county is almost 300,000 units short of housing in order to get our housing affordability crisis. We're out of land, right? We are bouncing. Let's be very clear. We've got a swamp to our west. It's a very nice swamp. It's the Everglades. We got a swamp to our south, also nice, the Everglades. We got water to the east. It's the ocean. And we got Broward County to the north. So if we're going to get our housing affordability crisis, it is a supply and demand. We do have to build. We're going to have to get used to. Sometimes there's an apartment building near a metro rail station. No one is supposed to spend more than 40% of their income on housing plus transit. It's an index called the H plus T. And in our community, we far exceed that. So when we're able to build affordable housing near reliable, rapid transit, we're checking off the boxes on two of the top biggest costs. So I'll give you an example of a building. As a matter of fact, you'd have a good time coming over there. Right next to the Brickell train station, we built Magnus Brickell. That is a site that's about 454 units. And I remember going to the banks, they said it could never be done. 92 of the units are for very low-income seniors. They're paying about $200 to $300 a month, depending on their income, to live in a luxury building next to a transit station. We also have about another third of the units, which are for workforce, that 80% of, so young people. And then there's some market rate, which is fine. That helps us pay for these, these rent stabilized apartments. And so it's not all luxury. We are building these buildings.
A lot of it is luxury.
Some of it's luxury, but on the county project,
a lot of it is luxury.
Some of it is.
A lot of it is luxury.
Some of it is.
No,
but
some of it might be
projects,
workforce. Not a lot of it is affordable, and most of it is luxury. Most people cannot afford to live in these RTZ high-density buildings. That's just the reality of it. Am I wrong? Mercedes buildings or whatever this totally out of proportion Vizcaya Station thing is in Shenandoah, which is not a tapering down. It is a dramatic change in a single-family home.
Nothing is happening on that. Sorry, I don't even know what you're talking about on
that
one.
But that is a project that you helped to champion, is it not?
I totally changed it. So I rejected what they put in because it was inappropriate. You've got to remember the county has two zoning codes. One is you can have in the RTZ. We're different from the city.
But
right?
this is important though for the people of the city to know that because a lot of people in the city have issues with this and have done battle with you at the county, not just you, but with the county over this. And you might have a very different philosophy from how your future constituents in the city of Miami may feel about this.
Well, I'll tell you, when I talk to people in Overtown and Liberty City and Little Haiti, they're happy to have apartment buildings in their neighborhood where they can afford to live. And so will I take a little traffic in order to build a unit for a person like that to live in? I will always make that decision. And there will be people that will not like me for it and will not vote for me for it. But we have a housing crisis, and it's at every age and every income level, and housing near transit can help solve that.
We are out of time, but I do have 3 more questions.
Oh, no.
You ready? So let's do it. This isn't exactly rapid fire, but
okay.
There was a story in Political Cortadito about how you were approached at a Miami Climate Alliance meeting by someone from the Sierra Club who asked you to meet with them about composting versus incinerator, I imagine. And you were quoted as having said that you would not meet with the Sierra Club as long as they employed Ken Russell, the former Miami City Commissioner, and one of your opponents for mayor.
I did not say that. Now, I did not.
Were you joking? Might you have said it in jest?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Matter of fact, I think Ken's put out a video saying that was not true. So,
well, I don't think he was there. But what about this is an issue about composting versus incinerator, which you seem to flip flop on.
No. Composting and incineration are totally different. So, the incinerator. Let's be very clear. Mayor Daniela Levine Cava, who is I think the world's top environmentalist, right?
Let's not get carried away.
But, she's better than all of us. Yeah, so for years, every memo that's
We can
come
agree
out,
to disagree
right?
on
But
that.
every memo that's come out has said that the most environmentally safe method is to use incineration, and it's what's called a mass burn facility. It's very different from what we have. So mass burn
Is that
facilities
true?
away. Yes, Donald Trump got involved because he just whatever. One of my colleagues made a phone call, and he decided he was just gonna. That was it, and so basically everybody caved to the president. And we are now on our commission have made the most unenvironmental decision possible. For the rest of our lives, every piece of garbage in this community is going to go on a diesel truck, right? Because we have bought electric garbage trucks. They don't work very well yet. They will eventually, maybe 10 years from now. So now we're going to put them in a diesel truck, and we're going to truck everything to a landfill in the center of Florida. Landfills produce a lot of methane, which is way worse. It's the worst of all of the gases for heating up our planet. And they also leach into the groundwater, right? So this is our plan.
Incineration generates a lot of CO2 as well.
This methane is different.
I know.
Methane is very different. The other thing with waste-to-energy facilities, so our plan would be to have all of the energy that is generated is actually fueling our electric fleet. Because now we do have a lot of electric fleet, although, our regular trucks, not the heavy ones are not quite there yet. This technology is what every advanced country in the world is using, with the exception of the United States of America. And it's interesting. I was at a neighborhood association meeting the other day because they were, because there's a lot of misperceptions about what a mass burn and waste to energy facility is. And I explained my reasoning that I feel very good about being the vote that said I would like a mass burn facility. I would like to use new technology that is good for the environment versus old technology, which is notoriously bad for the environment and trucking. The other piece in all of that is our county commission, which I voted against, voted to raise the cost of disposing garbage for the residents of the city of Miami by about $40 million over the next 25 years. So we're doing something that's bad for the environment that costs us more. All of my colleagues made a popular decision. Mm-hmm. I stuck with science and the environment, and I feel good about that. And
I've talked to a lot of your current and soon-to-be former constituents, and many of them are extremely disappointed about you resigning 1 year into a 4-year second and final term as county commissioner. Further, a great many people in the Democratic Party, and you're running a very sort of Democratic-centric campaign. In fact, I think your polling probably over-indexes Democratic turnout in an odd year. But then your political consultant also told us that Kamala Harris was going to win Miami-Dade County by 15% and that James Reyes was going to win sheriff by 10%. I think he got that exactly in reverse. So setting that hustle aside, your resignation will flip the Miami-Dade County Commission from majority Democrat, not that it really matters, to majority Republican. I understand there's already some sort of deal is in the works with Vicky Lopez, a criminal, by the way, a criminal whose sentence was commuted by President Clinton, a woman who has continued to prey on this community for the financial benefit of her family. Setting aside whether or not Vicky Lopez will get your seat, we're talking about in a special election, Alex Diaz-Laportilla might run for your seat. Joe Carollo might run for your seat. I mean, it's
neither
a cesspool.
live in the district.
It's a cesspool out there. I think a lot of people feel that you're abandoning them at the very start of this. Term, you had an RFP out to transform downtown that presumably the next commissioner will basically take over, and people are frightened about that prospect. What do you say to those people who feel abandoned by you?
So 2/3 of the people in my district will continue to have my representation this time as their mayor rather than on the county commission. So actually closer to their day-to-day lives. As you know, the city has a ton of impact on how we live as residents. I can tell you that 3,000 of them signed a petition to get me on the ballot. So there is a lot of grassroots support.
That's just money, though. But that's a Christian Olvert hustle.
Well,
you could just as easily pay the fee and qualify. He gets to skim a bunch of money from the campaign that your donors are donating in order to spend tens of thousands of dollars to collect petitions. That's not indicative of anything.
We've got young college and high school students out there on the weekends. They've been helping. They're charming. We're trying to teach them good skills like, spreadsheet skills and calendaring skills and all these other things, so they benefit. But the point is, people are not telling me. They do. I do. We're going to miss you on the commission. But then they say, we need you as mayor. Right? Because you don't get to make the perfect choice.
Let me ask you this one thing before you go. And you knew this, this is coming because I've mentioned it a couple times. We've talked about it offline. I think one of the most underreported scandals, corruption scandals in Miami-Dade County is your political consultant, Christian Olvert, who is a puppeteer he's really the county mayor. He, in my estimation, works as an unregistered lobbyist for companies and moneyed individuals, in addition to Qatar, which is Hamas headquarters in the Middle East, a misogynist, homophobic, and terrible regime. In addition to being the headquarters of the Hamas terrorist organization. But he also represents businesses in Miami-Dade and Miami that do business with the government and yet doesn't register as their lobbyist, and yet they continue to get big money contracts and deals from Mayor Danielle Levine Cava and the county commission. Why should we let him into the city? Where there was no doubt he is going to work as an unregistered lobbyist once again. He's going to shake down, as he has at the county, business owners and lobbyists and people. I understand right now, people think he's very vindictive. People think you're very vindictive.
Me.
And there are people who you've done business with at the county, developers and lobbyists and people who have donated your campaign. There are people who have never met you in the city that feel like they are being intimidated into donate to you because that's how Christian has positioned this. Why should we let what I believe to be the worst, most underreported and underexposed scandal in Miami-Dade politics, and a corruption scandal in my opinion, into Miami City Hall? Aren't we just trading one Miami Mafia for another Miami Mafia if we let Christian Olvert into City Hall?
First and foremost, he does not play any role in how I govern.
But he's going to lobby you as mayor of Miami.
He does not lobby me now as county commissioner. Billy,
he's going to go around to people and say, I'm the mayor's guy. I have the mayor's ear. He does it at the county.
He doesn't do it at the county with me.
Oh, come on.
He does not do it with the county as me. And let me tell you why. Right? I don't need his advice on how to operate things. I need his advice on which doors to knock on to win my campaign. But let me tell you why. First of all, I'm a fully formed, functioning adult.
And Mayor Danielle Levine Cava is not a fully formed functioning
my
adult.
work experience is very different than
He
hers.
chooses her staff. Her staff doesn't respond without checking with him first.
Billy.
Politically.
She is a different person than I am.
But he is going to do this at the city. He might not do it to you. He's going to do it to the city commissioners. He's going to go and shake down business owners and lobbyists and special interests, just like he does at the county.
This is not going to make a difference. Every single person,
it makes a difference
to
the
me,
people.
Doesn't make a difference to me and how I operate. You could just look at my track record.
So what's going to happen? He's going to go lobby for 3 votes on the city commission, and you're going to veto something that Christian Olvert, as an unregistered lobbyist, has put together for one of his outside clients.
If it's bad for the residents, you bet I'm going to veto it. Let me tell you, Billy, I have 20 years in the private sector, right? I don't need advice on how to build buildings. I've built buildings. I don't need advice on how to run fleets. I've run fleets. I don't need advice from anybody on how to run emergency operations. I've run emergency operations in other countries in the developing world. I don't need anybody's advice on how to organize contracts. I've negotiated contracts. By the way, sometimes I've done them with blood diamonds to make sure that you forget. I have worked in the Foreign Service. I have experience that's different. I am perfectly capable of being mayor. I need a campaign consultant.
I didn't say you're not, but we are the company we keep. You know his reputation. You know the damage he's done to this community and to the party, and yet you continue to employ him and put him in a position where he can leverage his relationship with you to personally profit himself at the expense of your constituents.
I can tell you, I do not speak to him about any county business.
You don't have to.
So that's not going to change.
You don't have to. What I said, if you can go around and buy 3 votes on the commission and maybe even a veto-proof majority on the commission, again, we can continue to have this conversation. I just don't think he's good for this community. How do we know that? Are we better off now than we were 4 years ago? Are we better off now than we were 8 years ago? Is the Democratic Party more or less of an entity? And he's been one of the leading, quote unquote, progressive political consultants in this community.
I just go to work. And I work on my project.
Florida is red. Miami-Dade County is red. The Miami-Dade County Commission is going to be red. That's on Christian's watch. He controls the Miami-Dade Democratic Party. He has clients. What I'm saying is he is going to be a problem at the city if we let him into the city. And I think people don't talk about. I know this sounds like in the weeds or inside baseball, but the man is the de facto mayor of the county. And has clients that he goes and gets multi-million-dollar contracts with the county. He may not lobby you, but he's lobbying your colleagues. I presume he's lobbying the. I understand, but he's going to do that at the city of Miami, and you will give him that leverage if you were elected.
I don't give him that leverage now. Nothing's going to change on November 4th after the election is finished.
But you don't deny that he will have an outsized role and influence at the city.
He can call anybody he wants.
Okay.
There is zero reason for them to be influenced by him unless they decide to be. That's on them. That is on them. That is not on me. I have never, ever combined my campaign team with my work team. I don't need his advice on these things. I don't need business advice. I need campaign advice. And I'm happy to have his campaign advice, but he will not be in my business.
County Commissioner Eileen Higgins, we've gone so over. It's actually election day. I believe it's November. Is it November?
The polls
I think it's
open?
November. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a lot of fun.
Cheerio.
We should do it again.
We should.
She doesn't mean that.
No, I don't want to come here ever again.
Cocaines.